ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys want to put out the right information by the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your lives. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys, and I'm going to bring him up in a second. But my team always likes me to put this out at the beginning of the episode as well. If you get value in what you hear today, and I know you will, and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show. I'm actually a data guy, and like 60-some% of our listeners aren't even subscribed. And although I appreciate you tuning in, just hit that little follow button out there. But with that being said, you guys, today's show, we're going to be talking about kind of like where we're at in the industry right now. How are you balancing and leveraging technology to grow your team, and kind of what's going out there in the industry? And I have my man, Hunter Landreth, on the phone or on the show today with KCH Transportation. So Hunter, thank you so much for joining me. Dude, you had me with the switching to your phone thing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me.
No, man, I'm looking forward to it, right? And like we were saying before we jumped on, man, I love talking to people who are building companies in the industry, because it's such a different perspective when you're in the day-to-day, as opposed to kind of like sitting out there and thinking about like what you would do. Like every decision that you talk about on the show is like what you're applying in your company and everything today. But before we kind of get into any of that, Hunter, man, how'd you get your start in freight? Like what brought you into transportation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Chattanooga, so some would consider it the city of logistics, if you will. But no, I graduated UTC with a degree in business and entrepreneurship. I wanted to go work with my dad. He's in IT, but he was like, you have to go get sales experience. So you can't come here unless you get sales experience. So I was looking around, and logistics was like everywhere, if you will, out of college. So I interviewed at companies like US Express and Coyote, and I knew somebody at KCH, and there was like 5 people at KCH at the time. This is back in 2015. And graduating with entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, that sounds great. Like 5 people. It's basically a startup. It is a startup. So joined KCH really just to get sales experience, but ended up falling in love with logistics and just the atmosphere, the energy that logistics is, like supply chain, just the day-to-day decision making, just like everything about it, like pulled me in. And thank God I didn't go into like IT with my dad and like work for him. That would have been awful. So yeah, joined in 2015 and been with the company ever since. So 10 years. It's my first job out of college. But yeah, I honestly, again, just came here to get sales experience and fell in love with logistics in the meantime.
Dude, I love that, right? Like it's infectious, this entire industry, because it's like for me, as somebody who has undiagnosed ADD or ADHD, whatever it is, I love the constant change that comes along with it, right? Like I was talking to my business partner this morning before we started the show, and I'm like, because like I am out there making cold calls every single day. I'm out there trying to build our business up, and I'm like, the thing I love the most about sales in particular is you can have a phenomenal call where you talk to the decision maker, you have a great first step, and then your next call, somebody lights you up for calling them. And it's just like, I think that's what like sucks me into all of this stuff, is because it's like, you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. It's like a game too. Like, I mean, it's just, I love the game of it, just the aspect of trying to win and lose. There's winners and losers, and it's every day, it's every call. So I kind of just fell in love with that aspect of it.
It's probably it's true, right? And I look at it now because you started out in this industry in 2016, and it's like how similar but yet how different everything is here, especially post COVID. And you're seeing a lot of stuff out there with technology that's in the market now that we never had. Like, dude, when I first started tendering loads, like when we got to send it via eFax, that was like a massive technology step forward. And kind of like now where we are today. So it's like, how are you guys as an organization balancing out like keeping that human element involved while automating?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. When I first started, I think I was on the back end of faxing, but there was definitely faxing going on. I was with KCH when there was 5 people, so you were carrier setup, account, you did everything, right? Everything. So I could write my own credit lines for customers. I could do all kinds of dangerous things that a 23-year-old probably shouldn't be able to do at the time. But it's still like there's still an aspect of it that's the same. It's like the same relationships with the carriers. That relationship bond with the carrier is like, pull all the tech aside, like that's still the same today that it was like 10 years ago. The tech has come a long way. I remember I would send spreadsheets to my Excel spreadsheets that I just created to customers, and I always tell everybody nowadays, it's like the amount of tech you guys have at your fingertips. I don't know if it makes you better or worse. Like I don't. I'm trying to find that balance, and like right now, I think just navigating, KCH in today's world. Well, backing up, during COVID, I got caught up in a lot of technology because I feel like I was at home as it was everybody else, and there were so many virtual conferences, and I feel like that's when tech really started to take off in the tech world, or in the logistics world. And I just got like really caught up in finding all the best tech for KCH in 2020, and there's a lot of things that look really good on paper. But when you implement them and you're trying to execute them and you're only thinking about your company and not the trucker, not the shipper, not like all the moving aspects of like the entirety of the business, although the tech sounds good, looks good, and I'm sold on it, it doesn't work in the way I thought it was going to work. And I think right now is there's so much AI, there's so much tech, and trying to not get caught up in all the pretty things out there, all the things that, man, that could change the game for logistics, that could change the game for KCH, and really staying grounded with, I was a broker. I know what a customer really wants, and I know what a carrier really wants. There is aspects of that we could add this layer of tech or add that layer of tech. But at the end of the day, like trying to find that balance, and that's a difficult thing. I think I'm still trying to find the balance of too much tech and not enough tech. And we've implemented some things like inbound phone calls, AI agents, and just going through emails and looking at all of our emails and tracking all that, and just all the tech and navigating what is working and what is not, trying to listen to not just the company, but again, the drivers and the shippers. Yeah. And there's so much to navigate there. And the carriers, I think, dictate a lot of the tech, to be quite frank, and making sure that it makes sense for them. Because at the end of the day, you're going to wipe out all your tech and just go direct to the carriers and make sure they're taken care of. If they don't like the tech, then tech's not going to work, in my opinion.
No, I'm fully aligned with you there, Hunter. I look at it is like, as we're implementing automation inside of my organization, I do have the driver experience top of mind and the customer experience top of mind, because it's like, ultimately, what are they asking for? And, I look at it I've been saying this a lot, and I truly feel this way. Like at my brokerage, dude, like we're a hospitality company that just happens to move freight. I got to keep my customers and my carriers happy, and I got to balance all of that stuff out. Did I lose you, Hunter? There we go.
I think I lost you. Yep.
No. So what I was saying there, Hunter, is it's like I'm aligned with you, because it's like I view it as a broker, we're essentially a hospitality company that just happens to move freight. I got to make sure my guests, AKA my carriers and my customers, are satisfied with the service that I'm providing them. And when it comes down to technology, full transparency, I'm not hearing anything from now, granted, we're a smaller organization. We're not in with a lot of large enterprise shippers, but like, they're not beating down our door asking us to implement stuff. That, like, the fundamentals of where we're at have not changed, right? And that is like, carriers want somebody to answer the phone. Customers want you to pick up on time and deliver on time and communicate, right? And I feel like it's finding those soft skills. And that's where it's like, we're really looking to automate it's those soft skills in our organization. Because, I look at it, like with our TMS and stuff like that, like we use Revinova inside of our organization. And, what I love about it is the functionality of it is like, it's so much easier for us to go in and duplicate loads and clone loads and build them out, because we don't have EDI shippers that are just auto tendering stuff over, but we got to use that piece of tech to be able to go in and, amplify our outputs when we get multiple orders at the same time, and we can go in there and do a lot of that stuff. So it's like, I'm looking at it from an operational standpoint, like, where is it today that we need, like, what are those soft skills that we can automate? Because I don't want a carrier to ever call me or a customer to ever call me and have anything but Chris Jolly or the person answer the phone.
Yeah. And that's the balance. Like, again, I said we had inbound AI agents, and trying to figure out like what's working there, what's not. Talking to the carrier, like, I know you don't like this, but like, how can we make it better for you? Or what's the part of it that you don't like? And just trying to really hone in on that aspect of it, because like at the end of the day, I want people to do the job that's generating the revenue, right? And like focus on getting rid of the busy task, if you will, and just like focusing on driving the business. But there is some of those tasks that are important too. They may not be directly impacting driving the business, but they're a crucial part of the business in general. So, just talking to the carriers and the customers alike. And I think everybody wants some perfect scenario of like tech and like how it's gonna just make your life just easy peasy. But the reality is it's a tough balance. And I think just trying to figure that out. So again, talking to the carriers, talking to the customers, what do you actually want? What would I want from their side is important to me, and just plug in and play and trial and error. And that's the harder part too, because you'll get it wrong sometimes, and you'll get it right sometimes, and
So how are you balancing that across your organization? Because you guys have multiple sites out there, and how do you keep people kind of aligned strategically while you're growing your organization?
Yeah, I think we've recently split our model this year, so that was an undertaking, to an account management carrier sales model. We were more ops sales, but the ops was acting as a lot of cradle to grave aspects of of that world. But I think it's just we have 4 branches, Chattanooga, Augusta, Nashville, and Atlanta, and it comes down to just we have a lot of communication going on between leaders. We probably have multiple calls going on a day. Hey, here's some ideas. Here's some things we're thinking about. What would work for your branch? What are we seeing in the market? What are we reading about? What do we think's working? What are we hearing about from drivers? I think the hard part to navigate when we get to the larger size is like, although this may make sense from a business aspect to implement something, does it make sense for our smaller branches? Because they still operate a bit different from each other. So Chattanooga is the biggest one, and it operates as corporate, but then you have your Nashville office where it's a lot smaller, and your decisions are handled a bit differently there, and they may be seeing things that corporate's not. So I think it just comes down to a ton of communication. I've said this before, but I think communication can solve 99% of the world's problems. And so just communicating effectively with all the managers, but also being able to listen to what they're saying, and maybe have a bit of self-awareness to where, hey, I'm all in on this product, or I'm all in on this like split or this way of KCH, like this direction of KCH going. But if enough people tell me or push back and on that, like, have enough self-awareness as a leader to be like, all right, pause for a sec. Like, we need to think this through, because again, I can get caught up in, the world of logistics, not only from a day-to-day aspect, but it's just moving so fast. There is so much happening, right? Especially right now. Again, I allude to 2020 when I guess that's when I at least took notice of like Uber and Convoy and all that stuff come into play. And I felt like the world was coming to an end. And now, with all the AI and all the tech, and it just feels like you're trying to keep up, but just slowing down and again, there's so much happening, but making the right decisions for the company and the customers, how are they going to be handled from your company, and how are the carriers going to be handled from your company? So again, communication and having some self-awareness to listening to the team navigate. So
no, as we're going out there, so like we are, I think like if you ask somebody what's the best model for a brokerage, you're going to get 100 different opinions on it at the end of the day. But I think like it's good to learn in a cradle to grave environment, but eventually you got to like switch those roles into that singular focus, right? Like I think that there's a distinct difference between a true hunter sales rep and a account manager, and then operations. I feel like it really comes into 3 different buckets because it's a different thrill, right? Like I'm the type of guy, Hunter, where dude, I love the hunt, right? Like I love going out there. I love developing the business, getting it up and running. And then not that I get bored with winning loads, but like my head is more like I like the uncertainty aspect of it, and then up into that point. But like my business partner, he loves that structure aspect of it, where it's like we get 5 loads a day from this shipper on these lanes and everything else. He's a phenomenal account manager. He's also a really good sales rep as well. But like we all have our strengths, and I think like that's a challenge out there that people, when they're building a team, they just kind of put bodies at problems as opposed to like really finding out like, hey, is this the best role for the individual?
Yeah. So we were cradle to grave when we started, all the way up until 21. And I think that's when I started to think like, all right, there is people that are really good at sales, or there's people that are really good at ops. Mm-hmm. Most people aren't good at both, or they're good at both, but they choose one or the other, like you're saying. That's when we kind of split to all right, we're going to have hunters and we're going to have like farmers, but they did a lot more than just farming from an operational standpoint. I think even going into this year with going to the account management and the sales and the ops is like there is people that like love like putting more emphasis on the carrier relationship and the carrier sales side of things, and focusing there and like just booking the loads and operating in that world. And then you have the hunters from the sales side of like, you guys just love to go out and hunt, and then you have the account management where they love to farm. And I think I think cradle to grave is the best way for a small company, and this is my opinion again, but I think a small company, it's cradle to grave. It's all hands on deck until you can get to a certain point where you can split it. But at the end of the day, most people have something or a side that they lean on. Like for me, I'm more of like I like to see the whole puzzle and try to like put it together from an operational standpoint. And like, if I win one load, I want to win like all of the loads. Yeah. I'm not as much of a hunter as I wish I was. I'm more of like a strategic guy, I guess, if you will. But so I do think you have to split at some point.
I think what you said about cradle to grave it's very true, because I think that you need to operate in multiple roles as you're growing and scaling a company. Because what I've seen, like I worked for a very large freight brokerage early on in my career, and a lot of the carrier reps expect business to show up. They don't appreciate the business because it just kind of pops up on the board every single day. And a lot of the sales reps out there, they don't appreciate what it takes to cover a load sometimes, because they've never actually covered a hard lane out there that might have been misquoted or anything like that, right? So that's why I feel like when you're wearing those multiple hats early on, it's beneficial, but it ultimately leads to you being a more well-rounded individual. Like, as a sales rep now, I excel because like I know the little intricacies of every single shipment that a driver at one point brought to my attention. Hey, what does this mean? Why are we doing it this way? That helps me out in sales. But like I also look at it is it helps me deliver that appreciation of when you're balancing out a bunch of stuff. And like we're all about core carriers. Like legitimately 85% of our freight is booked on the trucking companies, because like we've had to balance that out. How do we cover our freight while growing our book of business? And it's a great skill set to have, because it brings that consistency in an inconsistent industry where it's like, man, I like reaching out to our same drivers time and time again. Hey, are you available for this day on this load? Like we'll book out 2 weeks in advance without fail or hesitation, because we want to go back to those guys. And that's our way of really balancing that out and really keeping those carriers just as happy with us.
Yeah, for sure. I remember one of my first customers was a brick customer. And I remember one of the VPs being like, you're just you're not gonna make any margin there, and you probably should spend your time elsewhere. And I just found a bunch of carriers where the backhauls into this brickyard made sense for them, and developed like great relationships. I haven't booked a load in like 6 years, but they still call me. Like they'll still call me like, hey, I see you're the CEO now. Can you get me on this load? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. And it worked for them. It worked for my customer, and nobody could really take that from me from a load board standpoint. It never saw the load board. And I think that's the carrier side is where a lot of people miss. And that's something we're trying to put a bigger emphasis on, and just getting those relationships. And then from your point of having all aspects of the job, I think that is important. I think for now, like KCH is trying to go into the direction of like training people on sales first, no matter what role you're going to go into, just kind of seeing the sales side. And I think it would be nice for, even if we're hiring somebody in tech or accounting or wherever, it's like maybe they should train in sales and operations so that they see those sides of the business, because that makes the decision a lot more like realistic and real for them. Because I do think people don't understand some sides of the business that they probably should. And from a cradle to grave aspect, you're going to see every side of the business. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you there, man. So it's like with a lot of this, how are you setting up your team to excel in a market that we're currently in, right? Like there's a lot of information that's coming out right now about what's going on, what might happen, what might not happen out there. But like, frankly, at the end of the day, my stance is always this: like, I don't care what the market is. I have to create my own market, because like I got to survive in business at the end of the day, right? Like I can't rely on a headline as a deciding factor if I'm going to show up and make sales calls, because like at the end of the day, there's always going to be something that could stop you from doing your job.
Yeah. I mean, this year's been difficult to navigate. I think I don't think it was on anybody's bingo card at the beginning of this year that volumes would be lower than they were in 23. At least it wasn't online. That's been very tough to navigate. I have a awesome pricing and marketing or market team that sends out a ton of content internally to our team about like what's happening in certain markets and what's not. But at the end of the day, I've had conversations with them like, you kind of don't really know what each day is going to hold. And at the end of the day, it comes down to like, hey, get on the phone with your customer, have real conversations with your customer, be real with them. Don't lie to them. Like, be very transparent. Be honest with pricing, be honest with where the market's at, what you're trying to do for them. I think there's a lot of excuses a lot of people could use right now, but at the end of the day, that's not going to get you anywhere. So just keep going, because somebody else is probably tapping out. And on the upside as well, it's the same thing. It's like you're just getting beat from every corner. You don't know, trying to get a trucker and you get them locked down, and then all of a sudden they disappear. It's both sides, but at the end of the day, I think you can make a lot of excuses in this market. But you just got to keep showing up, because the market will turn. And I think through this, it's just trying to push all the data out there, but don't be overwhelmed by it, because the relationships with the customers and carriers are really what's going to pull you through any type of market, whether it goes like this or this. There is customers that will stay with you if you're real with them, Mike. And I think there's bidding that people go really low on pricing to get in the door, and then they get kicked out immediately. And I think there's carrier and broker relationships that fall apart because one of the two is taking advantage of the other, or they're lying to each other, or whatever's happening there. And I think if you just like kind of settle that down in a sense, like you can be a bit more steady than no matter how the market is flowing up and down. And it is a lot of content overload. I feel like there is so many moving pieces to the market overall, probably from a lot of the tariff situation, but and just navigating that. But at the end of the day, I think it still boils down to relationship, period.
I'm sorry.
No matter what the market's doing, I think the relationship matters the most.
No, I agree. I also think people try and way overcomplicate what we're actually trying to do out there in the market, right? Like I feel like we're people, and you could look at technology, you could look at a lot of stuff. They're adding complexity into situations that don't necessarily need to be any more complex than they are, right? Like I look at it like this, and I try and simplify it out there when I'm talking to individuals, and I'm like, you guys, it picks up at point A and it delivers to point B. It's as simple as that, right? Like it's going to weigh a certain amount, it's going to be a certain piece count, and it's going to be a certain commodity, and those things never change. I understand market shifts, I understand pricing is a factor on things, but I think too many people are too desperate to get a customer or to move a lane that they will sacrifice profit to move the freight, and then they'll back themselves in a corner and try, like when they realize like, hey, this is a break even or a losing lane, and then they try and get additional, like a higher rate on the load, and then the customer's like, why? No, absolutely not. You said you could do it for 1,500. Why do you now need 1,650 on it? That's not going to work. So I feel like we try and make it a lot harder than we actually need to. Like I just have a strict, like, I don't negotiate policy, right? Because it's like when I'm out there and I quote a load, that's my rate for the load. And if a customer wants me to do it for less and it's like below market and everything else because somebody else is quoting low, I'm going to pass on the margin, the revenue in the short term. And yes, that could cost me business in the long term. But like I have been in this situation in a volatile pricing market too many times, Hunter, where it's a lot. You drop your rate to match it. It's a lot harder to get that money back, and you have a higher likelihood of getting that lane turned off than you do by quoting and staying firm at that price and then letting the freight come back to you. Because we all know when somebody comes back and they're like, oh, it's $300 below. It's like, how do they find these trucks? They don't. All right. Their plan is to break even or lose money in the short term and then raise the rates. And then eventually the customers are going to be like, no, we're not going to do that. And then they come to you and they're like, hey, is your truck at 1,800 still available? Yes, it is. And then you can continue to service them in the long term.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I've had plenty of people come to me and like, do we want to attack this business from a primary standpoint? Can we go this low? I think that's where it comes down to just being like very honest with the customer and being like, listen, I understand you have to go price. You probably have to answer somewhere else other than this. We're here. If you need us, we're going to stay at this point. I don't want to put ourselves in a bad position. I don't want to put you in a bad position. Sometimes we'll win that game. Sometimes we'll lose that game. Some people can maybe I would believe more so than not, they can't. So we'll just be real with what we can do and hope that the customer values that we're being as transparent about everything we can be about their specific lane or what have you, and let the chips fall where they fall. But I do think there's a lot of rate chasing. I think there's a lot of there's so many desperation grabs right now that you have to be very careful with trying to be green in an RFP. It's like,
yeah,
you might not want to be green in an RFP. You might want to be like third or fourth because, like, first of all, you're going to put both of you in a bad position. And I think I would have thought that customers and brokers and carriers and everybody would have learned this on the go around of like 2020 and 21, 22. Yeah. It's just like how RFPs went flying out the door and it was just spot and everybody, but it's gone back to that. And I get it from a sense of like price does matter. Price is definitely,
of course,
in everybody's mind, especially through a market like this market. But you also don't want to put each other in a bad spot. And I think that comes from the conversation and just being real with each other. And either they listen or they don't. And either you're right or you're wrong, but that's where you have to stand.
No, I'm right there with you, Hunter. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, right? Like I've been a broker for 15 years at this point. And, as a business owner, I really like to apply this principle out there. Like I would rather lose a customer for telling them the truth and keep one on a lie, because like I just enjoy sleeping at night. And if I'm lying to them about what I can do their freight for in the short term to try and get their business in the long term, like that's just not a successful partnership that I've experienced, right? And again, I could be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I am not perfect. This is just what I do in my business. And that's just what I have found to work best for myself. Is like I would just rather be brutally honest with somebody about where things are, what our capabilities are. If we can't do something, I'm going to say we can't do it. And I have just found that that's worked out for me.
100%. Totally in agreement with there. And if we say we can't do it, then I'm kind of like, well, could we figure out how to do it? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's being real with who you are, where you stand, and then being real to the customer about that. And then the chips fall where they fall. And you try to stay in that lane right there so you don't get yourself in trouble. You don't lose customers through that. You don't lose your reputation through that. You don't lose carrier relationships. You can put yourself in a very bad situation picking off a lot of freight for a low price.
Yeah. Well said, man. Hunter, thank you so much for your time today. Hey, if you guys are hiring or anything like that, how did anybody reach out to you guys to find out more about what you got going on at KCH?
Yeah, so you can just reach out to info@kchtrans.com. It goes to me and the recruiters and stuff, or our website, kchtrans.com. All of our jobs postings are on there. So we are actively hiring. So we welcome anybody to apply and love to have you.
Perfect. Hunter, thank you so much. That is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys can't find Hunter or the team at KCH, I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. That is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast.